Scott, as you look forward to Game 5, and again, it's only parts and parcels of the first four games, but so far you have not been able to get that critical second period goal, and you've not been able to have that lead into the third like you did much of the regular season. Has that been part of why this series is tied 2-2 coming into Game 5?
You could look at that, I guess, a little bit. I think that games 1 and 2, we won our games in our building. I don't care how it happened. We won the games in our building. Went down to their building, and they beat us twice in their rink. There's lots of parts, lots of pieces of the game that we kind of looked at in detail. I won't really pass it on to you guys what they are, but at the end of the day, that's what happens when you get into these series. They're making adjustments, we're making adjustments. For us, when it comes to scoring, we need obviously more scoring. We did the last couple of games. We got to get inside a little bit more. We got to make it a little bit more difficult, like we did in Game 1 and 2. We made it hard on Bennington, and didn't think we did the same in. I thought Game 3 we didn't. I thought Game 4 we got back at it again. So you got to go to those places. Those are the type of goals that are getting scored in this league right now, and those are the greasy ones, the hack and whack, chop deflections. Those are the ones that we need to get.
So in terms of home ice, then, because St. Louis's defense has put up more points than any other so far in the playoffs, is that a tactical thing? Is that a matchup thing that you were able to not allow that defense to contribute as much in the first two games as they did in 3 and 4?
Yeah, our defending, we have to be better. We were, our play, the last two compared to the first two, we limited a lot of those chances, whether they came from the top or whether they came from their goal scorers down low. That's our team defense, and I just think it's something that, it has to go back up another notch. We got loose at times. However, if it looks like it's all coming from the top, they've done made adjustments on it, and we're doing adjustments as well. And so when we defend well, we don't give, whether it's the top or the bottom, we're not giving up opportunities. And I think that's been what we've talked about all year long. When we defend as a group and we're good in that area, we make life difficult for teams. So that's one thing we talked about the last couple of days, being better in our end.
Just looking to build on your response to the first question, but chatting with Cole, I think he feels that their line and they're generating, right? And that maybe bounces haven't gone their way, or posts or good saves by Bennington. Is it one of those things where you look at what they're producing and think it's about to go, like the dam's about to break, or is there more that needs to be done to make that dam break?
Well, I like the fact that Gabe's coming in, and that's, that line has been extremely good all year long. So that there's some chemistry there. Moves Al down, moves Nino back. It kind of gets our lines kind of back to looking a little bit closer to what they were. But yeah, I mean, you can call it. You can say that bad bounce or whatever. You got to go make your own bounces. You got to go make your own breaks. And I think that we're a group that sometimes when we're not attacking inside and we're not putting pucks from bad angles, we're trying to make the next play instead of doing it yourself. But that line specific, like Fetz, he's got some great looks, and he's the first that'll say that. But I got to bury them, and that's kind of what everybody. It's this time of year. Secondary scoring is important, and if we can get it tonight, that'll certainly help us go a long way towards moving on in this series.
Sort of touching on the offense from defense perspective, we've seen so many signature moments from Josh Morrissey, and maybe at times in this series he's been able to take over a shift or a few. But what will it take for him to just put his stamp on this thing?
Well, obviously there's a big target on him. Like any series, there's he's the elite guy for us back there. But at the same time, is that we've all year long we've stressed our six defense that need to be a part of the offense. It's everybody has not just defending. There's things we have to do when we get in the offensive zone or off the rush, them being a part of it. But Josh he's the type of guy that he'll find that space. He'll find that ice, and we like I mentioned, we've looked at some stuff the last couple of days, and hopefully we can find some ice for him to get that shot off, to get that attack, that dive in, dive out, having that motion and the movement, joining the rush. Those are things that that he knows, and he wants to make sure tonight that he's a big part of our offense.
So good at moving the puck, and I wonder what you guys can do to sort of help in transition when their forecheck is coming down, just getting you guys out of that zone.
I thought we did a fantastic job in Game 4 of getting out of our end a lot quicker than we did in Game 3. I thought Games 1 and 2 here we were fast. when we're playing quick like that, then we are on the rush. Then our D are part of that, and it'll be important. Again, we talked about the starts that we were really good in getting out of our end quick in Game 4, and that has to be a constant again tonight.
Scott, you obviously had a bit of a different look to your blue line. The 2 games in St. Louis, Game 3, you had to because of Dylan's illness. What made you kind of come back to is it just a matter of going back to your Game 1 and 2 lineup back on home ice?
A little bit. Sometimes it's matchups. Sometimes it's being here at home, having that opportunity. I have faith in all our D, and we had to use them. We said we were going to have to use them, and put Fleur in there because of his skating ability. So we get a chance to come home here, and we decided that's where we're going to go.
Just on the schedule, I know we asked you before the series started about the uniqueness to it. Now that you're kind of coming out of this 2 games in 8 days, positive, negative, because you lost those 2 games in those 8 days, so you've kind of had to, I guess, sit with the losses a little longer than maybe other teams would. Is that a good thing, bad thing?
Yeah, I think, I'm sure Monty would say he liked the 2 extra days there, so after Game 2, I'm actually was okay with it after Game 4. So it's some things we got to work on, some a little bit more things we got to look at. But now it's every other night, so it's go time. So it's the next game. It's the most important one tonight, and then we'll take it from there.
Scott, what's the biggest advantage to having your identity line back together with Nino going back with Lowry and Appleton?
Well, just the fact that they're a heavy line. Whoever they're playing against, they force them to defend all night. They don't play a lot of time on their end of the rink. Obviously with their forecheck, with their heaviness going through people, they all get to the net. Hopefully they can, like I talked about offensively, about making a little tougher for Bennington to see pucks, those second, third opportunities. So the biggest thing about them is how much zone time, if you go over the course of a season, how much zone time, offensive zone time that they spend, and that's what we need.
Asking guys about the difference in home ice. And they both mentioned the crowd. Now, of course, the crowd can't skate or score. So how do you see the crowd over there in St. Louis affecting your team?
I think that any time you're home and every time you make a nice play, you make a big hit, you do something, that crowd is behind us. And they talked about our whiteout and how loud it was, and it was loud in St. Louis, really loud. And again, that's just that home ice advantage. That's what we played those 82 games for. And so I expect our whiteout to be just as loud as it was in 1 and 2. And if it's a little extra lift and a little extra push that drives us towards that victory, that's what we're after.